If you're over 60 and your erections aren't what they used to be, I need you to hear this, because the problem might not be your age, it might be your food. Yes, I said food. Every day, millions of men over 60 are unknowingly eating foods that quietly damage the very blood flow and nerve function needed for a strong, lasting erection. Foods that look innocent, some even labeled as healthy, but are slowly robbing you of your performance, confidence, and intimacy. I'm Dr. Mohit Khera, a men's health specialist with over 3 decades of experience helping older men regain their vitality and function naturally. I've worked with thousands of patients facing ED, and what we've discovered is eye-opening. Many of the foods we've trusted for years are actually harming the body's ability to perform. And here's the paradox. Most men who walk into my office tell me they're eating better. They've cut down on sweets, they avoid fried foods, yet their erections are getting worse. Why? Because they don't know the hidden dangers lurking in 5 specific foods. Today, I'll reveal those 5 unexpected culprits. Foods that silently raise your blood pressure, block your circulation, and sabotage your hormones. And I'll show you what to eat instead. By the end of this video, you'll know how to take back control naturally. And stay with me, because at the end, I'll share a simple habit my patients use every morning to spark firmer, longer-lasting erections, often within just a few weeks. Before we dive in, if you're serious about reclaiming your strength and confidence, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss powerful, science-backed health advice made specifically for men over 60. And if this message speaks to you, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0, and let me know how I can better serve your journey to better health. All right, let's get into it, starting with the first and perhaps most overlooked threat to your erections: high-sodium foods. You may not think twice about that can of soup, those salty snacks, or even your favorite fast food fries, but the truth is, excess salt silently raises your blood pressure, stiffens your arteries, and restricts the very blood flow needed for a strong, lasting erection. Let me show you how this works and what you can do about it starting today. 1. High-sodium foods, the hidden erection killers. I still remember one of my patients, Mark, 67 years old, retired firefighter, tough guy. He sat across from me, clearly embarrassed, and said, "Doc, I don't get it. I quit smoking, I walk every morning, but things down there just aren't working like they used to." When I asked him about his diet, he proudly told me he'd cut back on sugar and junk food, but he still had a couple of canned soups a day, sometimes a microwave meal or 2 in the evenings. That's when it hit me. Mark, like many older men, had fallen into a common trap. He thought he was eating healthy, but in reality, he was loading his body with salt. Here's the truth. High-sodium foods are one of the most silent yet destructive enemies of a man's ability to perform. Why? Because sodium directly raises your blood pressure, and when blood pressure rises, your arteries begin to stiffen. The delicate blood vessels that supply the penis, smaller than the ones in your heart, start narrowing. That means less blood flow where you need it most. And no matter how healthy you feel on the outside, your performance will suffer when your circulation takes a hit. Most men don't realize just how much sodium they're consuming. It's not just in the salt shaker, it's hidden in canned soups, frozen dinners, deli meats, sauces, even those so-called heart-healthy snacks. A single can of soup can have over 1,000 milligrams of sodium, and the daily limit recommended by health experts is about 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams for older adults. If you're having 2 or 3 high-sodium items a day, you're pushing your blood vessels to the edge without even knowing it. And here's the catch. Even if your blood pressure is only slightly elevated, it can significantly reduce the firmness and reliability of your erections. Your body might still respond, but it won't be as strong, as consistent, or as satisfying. And over time, that inconsistency can lead to frustration, self-doubt, and avoidance of intimacy altogether. I've seen it happen far too often. The good news? The damage is reversible. Within just a few weeks of cutting down on sodium, many of my patients report noticeable improvement in their morning erections and overall sexual confidence. Start by reading labels. Switch to low-sodium or sodium-free options. Season your food with herbs, garlic, lemon, or spices instead of salt. And most importantly, ditch the processed and prepackaged meals as often as possible. But sodium is just the beginning. There's another ingredient hiding in your pantry that might seem sweet and innocent, but it's silently robbing you of your vitality. Let's talk about it next. 2. High sugar foods. The sweet saboteurs. Let me tell you about James, a 72-year-old retired teacher who came to see me after months of frustration and silence in his marriage. He finally confessed that he hadn't been able to perform in the bedroom for nearly a year. His voice cracked when he said, "Doc, I feel like I've lost a part of who I am." What struck me most was that James didn't fit the usual image of someone at risk. He wasn't overweight, didn't drink heavily, and stayed relatively active. But when I looked deeper into his diet, one thing stood out. He had a serious sweet tooth. Morning muffins, afternoon cookies, nightly dessert. And like so many men his age, he thought, "It's just a little sugar. How much harm can it do?" The answer? A lot more than most men realize. High sugar foods are quiet destroyers of male vitality. They spike your blood sugar, raise insulin levels, and over time, contribute to insulin resistance, a condition that leads to type 2 diabetes, nerve damage, and blood vessel deterioration. All of these directly impair your ability to get and maintain an erection. When your nerves can't fire correctly and your blood can't flow freely, your penis simply doesn't respond the way it used to. But there's another layer to the damage that sugar causes. It messes with your hormones. Excess sugar leads to increased body fat, particularly around the belly. And that belly fat doesn't just sit there. It actively converts testosterone into estrogen, slowly tipping the hormonal balance in the wrong direction. Less testosterone means weaker libido, softer erections, and less confidence overall. I've seen this pattern repeat itself with thousands of men. They cut back on sugar, and within a few weeks, their energy returns. Their mood improves. Their erections become firmer. One man told me, with tears in his eyes, that for the first time in years, he felt like himself again, all because he gave up soda and pastries. Now, I'm not saying you need to eliminate all sweetness from your life, but you must be smart. Avoid sugary drinks like soda and sweetened teas. Swap out desserts for fruit. Berries are especially good. Use cinnamon instead of sugar. And most importantly, check your labels. Sugar hides in sauces, dressings, even bread. The truth is, small changes can lead to big results when it comes to reclaiming your performance. But we're not done yet, because even if you've mastered your sugar intake, there's another enemy lurking in your meals. One that's clogging your arteries with every bite and stealing your erections from the inside out. Let's expose it next. 3. High-fat foods. The artery cloggers. I'll never forget Henry, a 69-year-old former mechanic with hands like tree trunks and a heart full of frustration. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "Doc, I still want to love my wife the way I used to, but my body just won't cooperate." Henry ate like many men of his generation, big breakfasts with bacon and sausage, burgers for lunch, and steak for dinner. He didn't drink much, didn't smoke, and stayed relatively active. But his cholesterol was through the roof, and more importantly, his erections had become inconsistent, weak, and unreliable. This isn't uncommon. In fact, it's one of the most predictable patterns I see. High-fat foods, especially those rich in saturated fats and trans fats, slowly coat the inside of your arteries with plaque. It doesn't happen overnight. It builds up day by day, meal by meal, until one day there just isn't enough blood flow to fuel a strong erection. You see, the arteries in your penis are much smaller than those in your heart or brain. That means erectile dysfunction is often the very first sign of serious cardiovascular issues. Your body is whispering a warning. Ignore it, and it may soon start shouting. Fatty meats, full-fat dairy, fried foods, creamy sauces. These comfort foods come at a steep price. They thicken your blood, harden your arteries, and increase inflammation. Over time, they starve your pelvic region of oxygen-rich blood, and when that happens, even desire can't make up for what your circulation can't deliver. But here's what's powerful. You can reverse it. I've seen men in their 70s who switched from fatty meats to lean proteins like fish, turkey, and legumes, and within weeks, they noticed firmer erections and increased stamina. One man even told me, "It's like someone turned the lights back on in my body." Your arteries want to heal. You just have to give them the chance. Start by cutting back on red meat, especially cuts with visible fat. Choose grilled or baked options over fried. Replace heavy creams with olive oil and avocado. Incorporate more fiber from vegetables and beans to help flush out the old and make room for the new. Your erections depend on clean, flexible arteries, so treat every meal like an investment in your manhood. Now, you might be thinking, "Okay, doc, I'm watching my salt, my sugar, and my fat. What else could possibly be hurting me?" I wish I could stop there, but there's one more thing millions of men consume weekly, sometimes daily, that seems harmless, even relaxing, but is slowly tearing apart their hormone balance and sexual performance. And it's sitting in your fridge right now. Let's talk about it next. 4. Alcohol, the hormone disruptor. I remember a man named Tom, 74, who came into my office one afternoon with a mix of humor and worry in his voice. He joked, "Doc, I've had more beers than birthdays, but now I can't rise to the occasion anymore." He laughed, but his eyes told a different story. For decades, Tom had enjoyed his nightly beers, 2 or 3, sometimes 4, thinking it helped him unwind, maybe even helped him feel a little looser in the bedroom. What he didn't realize was that his favorite habit had been slowly turning against him. Alcohol, especially beer, is one of the most underestimated threats to male sexual health. Sure, in small amounts, it can help you relax and lower anxiety, which sometimes helps with performance. But when it becomes a regular habit, the damage begins to compound. Alcohol is a depressant, and while it might calm your nerves in the short term, it gradually impairs the nervous system, disrupts hormone production, and restricts blood flow, all 3 essential for a healthy erection. Beer, in particular, contains compounds that mimic estrogen in the body. And for older men, that's a dangerous game. Your testosterone is already naturally declining with age. Add in alcohol's estrogenic effect, and what you get is a hormonal imbalance that blunts your desire, lowers your drive, and softens your erections. Over time, alcohol also damages the liver, an organ critical to hormone processing and regulation. Men like Tom often tell me they didn't realize the connection. "It never occurred to me that my beer could be the reason I'm not performing," he said, but the link is clear. Heavy drinking dulls the nerves, stiffens the arteries, and disrupts the delicate balance that keeps a man functioning at his best. Here's what I tell my patients. You don't have to give it up completely, unless you want to, but you do have to be intentional. Limit alcohol to no more than 10 to 14 drinks a week. If you enjoy a drink now and then, choose something with fewer negative effects, like a glass of dry red wine or a clean cocktail with soda water and lime. And more importantly, take breaks. Give your body time to recover, especially if you're working to restore your sexual health. The truth is, no one wants to believe their glass of beer or evening drink is part of the problem. But once you connect the dots, it's empowering, because it means you have a choice. Tom made that choice, cutting back over time, and he noticed a real change, not just in performance, but in clarity, energy, and confidence. But alcohol isn't the only hidden enemy lurking in your kitchen. There's a category of food that many men eat every single day, quick, convenient, and packaged for your busy life. That might be doing more harm to your manhood than you ever imagined. Let's uncover it next. 5. Processed foods, the silent destroyers. One of the hardest conversations I ever had was with a man named Walter. He was 70, widowed, and had recently started dating again. He came into my office visibly frustrated. "Doc," he said, "I finally found someone I care about again, but my body isn't keeping up with my heart." He was eating what he called a simple bachelor diet: sandwich meats, canned chili, frozen dinners, crackers, and snack bars. Easy, fast, no cleanup. He thought he was making smart choices by avoiding fast food and sweets, but he didn't realize that processed food was slowly undoing everything he hoped to rebuild. Processed foods are perhaps the most deceptive threat to a man's performance. They seem harmless, even practical. Just open, heat, and eat. But behind that convenience is a dangerous cocktail of sodium, preservatives, trans fats, artificial additives, and refined sugars. These ingredients don't just mess with your waistline, they attack your circulation and your nervous system, two of the most critical components of healthy erections. The meats found in most packaged sandwiches, like bologna, salami, sausages, and all hot dogs, are loaded with nitrates and sodium that stiffen arteries and weaken blood flow. Packaged crackers and chips might not seem like much, but they often contain hydrogenated oils that inflame the lining of your blood vessels. And those microwave meals? They're typically packed with enough sodium to exceed your daily recommended limit in one serving. Over time, these foods create a slow but steady breakdown of your sexual health. Blood vessels narrow, nerves grow less responsive, testosterone levels dip, and before long, intimacy becomes something you dread instead of desire. Men like Walter blame age. But it's not just age. It's what we feed ourselves while we age that makes all the difference. The turnaround is real, and surprisingly fast. I've seen men who started cooking with fresh ingredients, eating whole foods like fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and whole grains. And within a month or two, their energy returned. Erections improved. Confidence came back. Walter made that shift, started preparing simple meals with fresh ingredients, and a few months later he told me, "Doc, I feel like I got a second chance." Processed foods are silent destroyers because they don't cause immediate pain, but they rob you slowly, meal by meal, year after year. The good news is, the moment you stop feeding the problem, your body starts repairing itself. But now that we've uncovered the worst offenders, the real question is, what should you eat? What kind of diet not only prevents decline, but actively boosts your strength, your circulation, and your performance? The answer lies in a timeless way of eating that's helped thousands of men just like you reclaim their vitality. Let me show you. 6. Recommended diet. The erection-friendly plan. After years of treating men over 60 struggling with sexual health, one thing has become crystal clear to me. The body responds beautifully when you feed it the right way. I've seen it time and time again. Men who once thought their best days were behind them began to reclaim their energy, their confidence, and yes, their erections, just by changing the way they eat. The Mediterranean diet is my top recommendation for men in this stage of life. It's not a trend, it's not restrictive. It's a sustainable, enjoyable way of eating that's been shown to support heart health, hormone balance, and sexual function. It focuses on fresh vegetables, fruits, olive oil, whole grains, nuts, seeds, legumes, and lean proteins like fish and chicken. What makes it so powerful isn't just what it includes, but what it leaves out: processed junk, excess sugar, and inflammatory fats. This style of eating reduces inflammation, improves blood flow, and supports healthy testosterone levels, all essential for strong, lasting erections. And it's not about perfection, it's about consistency. One of my patients, Richard, started making simple changes, swapping out butter for olive oil, adding a salad to lunch, grilling salmon instead of frying pork. Within 6 weeks, he told me he was waking up with morning erections again, something he hadn't experienced in years. When you treat food as medicine, your body thanks you in ways that pills can't. But here's the key. Knowing what to eat is only half the battle. The real transformation happens when you combine diet with one simple daily habit that supercharges blood flow and reignites vitality, even if you're in your 70s or 80s. Let me show you what that is next. Conclusion. The power is in your hands. I've walked alongside thousands of men who thought their best years were behind them until they made a few powerful changes. Cut the salt, the sugar, the processed and fatty foods. Ease off the alcohol. Embrace real, whole food. These aren't just diet tips. They're steps toward reclaiming your energy, your confidence, your identity as a man. I've seen tears of relief, joy, and even redemption in the eyes of men who thought they were lost causes. You're not. Your body is waiting to respond. Start today, feed it right, and it will reward you in ways that matter most.